You wake before the sun has fully risen, though the sky is already whispering the approach of warmth. The stone wall beside your bed glows faintly, kissed by the first light of dawn, still soft and pale like honey diluted in milk. You do not rush. You remain still for a few moments, letting your breath settle, letting your bones stretch in silence. The thin linen that covers you rustles lightly as you sit up, its folds still holding the scent of oil and clay from the day before. The house is quiet. No footsteps echo yet in the courtyard, no chatter from the kitchen or clinking of amphorae. You hear only the faintest coo of doves nesting beneath the roof tiles, and the sigh of wind that slips between the open archways of the upper floor. From somewhere far beyond, a donkey brays once, distant and lazy. This is the kind of morning that unfolds like a slow wave without hurry, without need for alarm. You stand, feet touching the cool tile. There is no mirror to catch your reflection. No polished bronze to greet you with your own image. You are aware only of your body from within, of the heaviness in your arms, the softness in your face, the gentle curve of sleep still lingering behind your eyes. You stretch your hands overhead, fingertips grazing the wooden beam above, and then let your arms fall with a slow exhale. Today is not an ordinary day. A festival day waits just beyond the horizon, and although you have known its coming for weeks, it still brings a flutter in your chest. There will be music in the streets, laughter beneath the olive trees, baskets of bread passed from hand to hand, and whispered prayers to the gods. But before all that, before even the first drop of oil touches your skin, there is this moment, this sacred beginning. You step outside onto the veranda, where the flagstones still hold the night's coolness. The air smells of fig leaves and damp earth. A neighbour's rooster calls once, not for your ears, but for the sun's. Somewhere behind a low wall, the child giggles in her sleep, and a woman hums a song from another courtyard, her voice low and unfinished. These are the sounds that open the day, not alarms, not machines, not words on a screen, just the rhythm of people slowly awakening. At the far end of the house, a clay basin sits beneath a trickle of clean water gathered from the night dew and stored in a tall amphora. You move toward it barefoot, your steps soft and slow. The sky above is now a pale blush, still cool, but promising heat. You pause at the basin and lower your hands into the water. It's cold, but not biting, just enough to wake the skin, to make your fingertips tingle. You scoop the water and bring it to your face. One splash, then another. It runs down your cheeks and along your jaw. You press your wet palms against your closed eyes and inhale. There is a quiet joy in this, not in seeing yourself, but in feeling yourself. In the tactile, the real, the skin, the pulse, the breath. You tilt your head to the side as droplets fall, watching them darken the stone beneath your feet. You don't dry your face. There's no towel, only the breeze, and the breeze is enough. Inside, you hear the first movement, a pot moved across a hearth, the creak of the door to the storage room. The house is waking with you. But there's still time. Still space before the preparations begin. And you savor it. This prelude to beauty. You feel the oil waiting in its ceramic flask, the comb on its shelf. The linen folds hung neatly behind the screen. All of it still quiet. All of it still becoming. You stand a moment longer in the open air, letting the wind kiss your cheeks and the scent of crushed rosemary from the neighbour's yard drift through your thoughts. And when you step back inside, it's not with urgency but with the grace of someone who knows that every movement matters, even those unseen. Especially those unseen. You don't need a mirror. Not yet. Not ever, really. Because what's beginning today has never depended on reflection but on intention and memory and care. You are ready to begin. You carry the amphora with both hands, its curve pressing gently into your hip. It isn't heavy, just full enough to remind you that water is precious, that every drop drawn from the courtyard cistern last evening now waits to serve a purpose. As you walk slowly across the stone floor toward the bathing corner, your bare feet make no sound, but the clay vessel whispers with a faint slosh, rhythmic and calming. The space is simple, 3 low walls of worn limestone forming a half circle around a basin carved directly into the floor. Sunlight begins to trickle through the slatted shutters above, drawing soft stripes across the walls like threads woven on a loom. You set the amphora down carefully, then kneel beside it. This, too, is ritual not grand, not performed for an audience, but as familiar as breath. You dip a small bronze cup into the vessel and pour water into a shallow clay bowl beside you. Then another. The sound of the water falling delicate, hollow, clean echoes against the stone. No perfumes, no bubbling soaps, only water. And oil. From a nearby shelf you reach for a small jar of olive oil, pressed from last autumn's harvest. Its surface glistens golden in the morning light, warm even before it touches your skin. You tip the jar slowly, letting a thin stream trickle into your palm. The scent rises, rich, earthy, and faintly green. You rub your hands together, warming the oil between them, then gently begin to smooth it across your forearms. There is no rush. You are not scrubbing. You are nourishing. The oil spreads easily, coating the skin like a second layer, not thick, but protective, calming. You move from your forearms to your shoulders, from your legs to your collarbone, not missing a single place that the sun might see today. It is not about what others will notice, it is about how you carry yourself. About softness, cleanliness, grace. Once the oil has settled into your skin, you reach for the strigil. It is a crescent-shaped tool of bronze, worn smooth at the edges from use. You hold it lightly, almost reverently, and begin to draw it across your skin, long, gentle strokes that lift away the dust of yesterday, the tiny flecks of oil and sweat, and the silence of sleep. The curved edge kisses your arms, your back, your calves. It makes no noise, but it speaks clearly. I am cared for. I am preparing. Tiny bits of debris fall into the stone basin, rinsed away with a ladle of cool water. It's a quiet kind of cleansing. There is no froth, no fragrance, no thick lather. Just skin and oil and water and motion. The kind of beauty that asks nothing of vanity. The kind that lives in the body, not on it. Your hair, still loose from sleep, brushes your shoulders as you work. A few strands cling to your temples, damp from the water you splash across your face. You reach for another cloth, dip it in the bowl, and gently pat behind your ears, beneath your neck, across your brow. The cloth smells faintly of rosemary and sun, and the touch is enough to make you close your eyes. This is the kind of moment that lingers long after it's past. Not for its spectacle, but for its silence. The kind of moment passed down between women, not through instruction, but through example. You remember watching your mother's hands when you were small. How she poured the oil without spilling. How she drew the strigil along her arms with such deliberate grace. How she never looked into a mirror, but always emerged more beautiful than before. And now it is your turn. No one has told you how. But your hands remember. Your breath remembers. Your skin responds as if this knowledge was always there, waiting. The light grows stronger as the sun climbs, and now the bath space glows. The white stone walls reflect the warmth. You sit back on your heels and exhale. You are clean. You are soft. You are not painted, not powdered, not perfumed in the way others might expect. You feel more ready than ever. Ready for the next layer of preparation, not transformation, not disguise but adornment. And as you rise, wiping the last drops of water from your fingertips with a cloth that smells faintly of thyme, you catch a glimpse of your shadow cast on the wall. A blur, a silhouette, nothing sharp or detailed. But enough. You smile. You cross the threshold into the inner room where your hair comb rests, placed carefully beside a folded cloth and a simple clay lamp that still holds the scent of last night's flame. The room is dim, but not dark. Light from the courtyard filters through the shutters in slender beams, casting narrow strips of gold that drift lazily with the dust in the air. You sit on a low stool, one carved from olive wood with the smooth sheen of years. Before you is no mirror, only a shallow bowl filled with rainwater, collected and cooled overnight. The surface is still, offering not a reflection, but a suggestion, blurred, quiet, and fleeting. Your hair has dried slightly from the morning's washing. It lies in loose waves down your back, heavy but soft. You reach for the comb, its wide teeth carved from horn, worn smooth at the edges. It fits perfectly in your palm, like something grown from your own hand. You begin at the ends, always the ends first. Slowly, patiently, you work upward, not tugging, never rushing. Each stroke is deliberate, unhurried. There is no reason to hurry. Outside, a dove coos from the rooftop, and the wind stirs the fig leaves beyond the shutters. Inside, there is only the sound of the comb passing through your hair, soft, repetitive, almost musical. It is a rhythm as old as time. One stroke. Another. Your hair catches the light with each movement, like the folds of linen being unfurled in sunlight. You pause to gather the strands that have fallen loose, collecting them into a small woven basket beside you. Not out of vanity, but out of care. Nothing is wasted. Even these strands, now shed, may be burned with herbs later used in rituals, or simply released to the wind. With the tangles gone, your hands move to part the hair down the center. You gather the thick curtain of it over one shoulder, letting it rest against your chest as you prepare to braid. Not a showy braid, no ornaments, no gold, but a simple three-part twist, tight and low, meant to hold steady through the day's heat and movement. Your fingers move almost without thought, guided by memory, by generations. There is comfort in the repetition. You remember sitting between your mother's knees as she did this for you. The touch steady, the scent of thyme on her fingers, the warmth of her voice as she hummed a song that had no beginning or end. She never told you, the words only the rhythm. And now, as your own fingers move, you hum it too, barely audible, like a thread stitching time together. You secure the braid with a strip of woven wool, dyed a pale indigo. You wrap it twice, then tuck the end beneath. It holds. Tightly, not rigidly but with the firmness of something trusted. For the front, you choose not to braid. Instead, you gently pull the shorter strands away from your face and twist them back behind your ears, pinning them with a small bronze clasp carved in the shape of a laurel leaf. It's old, passed down and dulled by time, but you polish it with the edge of your sleeve before placing it. You don't need to see how it looks. You already know how it feels. As you stand, your braid rests gently down your spine, and the twisted front frames your face like a crown, not ostentatious, but noble. You reach for a small vessel of rosewater and press a few drops into your palms, patting them softly across your temples and the nape of your neck. It leaves no trace, but the faintest scent barely there, and gone before you can name it. You pass by the bowl of rainwater once more. This time, you glance into it not expecting a mirror, only a shimmer. The surface is rippling now, disturbed by your movement, and the image it gives you is not of yourself, but of light and motion. And that's enough. Outside the room, you hear the sound of bread being sliced on a wooden board. Someone has begun to prepare the morning meal. The day is unfolding. But here, in this quiet room, you are braided, scented, and serene. Without powder, without mirror, and more beautiful than you even realize. The scent of herbs wafts in from the courtyard, basil, thyme, and something sweeter, almost citrus. You follow it without thinking, your bare feet moving over cool tile and warm patches of light. On a low table near the open archway, a small clay mortar and pestle sit beside bunches of gathered leaves, petals, and resin clumps. This is the heart of scent, not a bottle, not a brand, but a memory ground by hand. You kneel beside the table and lift a sprig of myrtle. It's still damp with dew, its leaves waxy and full of quiet perfume. You press it gently between your fingers and bring it to your nose. Smell is earthy and green, tinged with something like rain. You close your eyes. It reminds you of the first summer you braided flowers into your cousin's hair for the harvest dance. She was nervous and laughing, and you told her the scent would calm her. And it did. You choose a few dried rose petals from a small pouch, crumble them into the bowl, and follow with a pinch of ground frankincense. The grains fall like pale sugar onto the rose, a scent both sacred and familiar. You add a small twist of lemon rind, dried and curled, its edge still holding a faint sharpness. With slow, practiced hands, you begin to grind. The pestle moves in circular soft, scraping strokes that hum low in the stone. You don't rush. The rhythm is half the pleasure. The mixture breaks down, warming as the oils release. You breathe in, deeply, slowly. The scent isn't strong. It's soft, subtle, like something only the skin should know. When the mixture is ready, you add a drop of olive oil, just enough to bind. It becomes a paste, golden pink and glistening. You scoop a bit onto your fingertip and press it gently to the inside of your wrist. The scent is quiet, intimate. A secret only you carry. You repeat this on the other wrist, then lightly behind your ears. You do not smear or rub, just a gentle touch. There is no mirror to check. No need to compare. Scent, after all, is not for appearance. It is for memory. As you cap the small jar, you think of the women who taught you this, your mother, your aunt, even the old widow from 3 houses down who always smelled faintly of bay leaf and warmth. None of them wore what today might be called perfume. But you remember them still because of these oils, these herbs, these personal little clouds they left behind when they hugged you or passed by in the hallway. You clean the rim of the bowl and set everything back in its place, wrapping the remaining leaves in a soft cloth to keep them fresh. The scent still clings faintly to your fingertips as you stand. Outside, the sun has climbed higher, pouring warmth over the white walls and dappling the tile with light filtered through fig leaves. It's getting closer to the time when the garments will be chosen, the jewelry fastened, the sandals tied. But for now, you've anointed yourself not with artifice, but with intention. As you step back into the house, the scent follows, though faint. A part of you now. No one will ask what you're wearing. But someone might smile quietly as you pass and say, "You remind me of something sweet I once knew." And you'll understand exactly what they mean. In the small alcove beside your resting room, nestled between 2 folded linens, is a round clay pot no larger than your palm. Its surface is burnished smooth from years of touch, and its lid bears a faded designer swirl like a wave, once painted with crushed berry juice, now only hinted at by memory. This is your blush. You lift the lid, slowly. Inside is a fine powder reddish, soft and dry. Is not purchased. It is mid-ground from red ochre mixed with dried rose and a touch of powdered root. The scent is faintly floral and earthen, like clay after a warm rain. You dip your fingers in, barely touching the surface, and then tap the excess against the rim. There is no brush, no mirror, only feel. You bring your hand to your cheek and gently press. Yes. Then, twice. You blend with small circles, your skin warming slightly beneath the touch. The soft flush appears not painted on, but awakened, like a secret coming to the surface. You repeat on the other side, never hurrying. This is not the kind of beauty that demands attention. This is the kind that waits quietly to be noticed. Your cheeks now carry the memory of the sun, even before it fully reaches you. It is not about deception, or seduction, or being the most beautiful woman at the festival. It is about being present, about honoring the day with care, the same way you'd prepare bread or sweep the floor before guests arrive. You treat your own face with that same quiet respect. Next to the pot of ochre sits a smaller jar of balm made of beeswax and pressed elderberries. This is your brightness, your shimmer, your color. It is dark in the jar, almost plum, but when you press your fingertip into it and apply a thin layer to your lips, it becomes soft, translucent red, like the skin of a cherry, or the blush of a fig in the early harvest. You press your lips together once, letting the warmth of your mouth melt the balm into place. There is no stickiness, no shine. Just color. A tint like health, like youth, like life. There is no need to reapply. It will wear off throughout the day, slowly, naturally, leaving behind only the scent of honey and fruit and perhaps the memory of a smile. You close the jars and tuck them into a small cloth pouch tied with string. They will not come with you to the festival. They will stay here, in the quiet of your room. Their job is done. In the corner, a piece of polished bronze leans against the wall. You could, if you wanted, hold it to your face. You could look. But you don't. You already know how you feel. And that is all the confirmation you need. You stand and tilt your head gently to the side. The sunlight catches your profile now through the shutter slat, highlighting the curve of your cheek, the line of your jaw, the softness of your lips. You are not decorated. You are revealed. Somewhere in the house, you hear the sound of sandals slipping across the tile. A younger voice, your cousin's, perhaps calls softly for her hair comb. Others are preparing now too, but you are not in competition. You are not comparing. You are simply preparing, as the women before you have done, and the women after you will do, not with powder and paint, but with patience, with presence. You take one last breath of the rose and clay that lingers in the air and step lightly into the next moment, cheeks glowing, lips berry-touched, and heart at ease. The linen garments rest, folded on a low bench near the doorway, their edges neatly aligned, the fabric pale as morning fog. They are simple, but they hold meaning. This is not the dress you wear to sweep the house or grind barley. This is the chiton for festival days, a rectangle of woven linen, soft from years of washing and use, its fibres faintly scented with lavender and ash from the hearth. You unfold it gently, careful not to let its corners drag on the floor. There are no seams, no zippers, no stitched shaping. Its elegance comes from its drape, from how it folds across your shoulders and flows around your body like a second skin. You do not need help to dress. You have done this 100 times. The cloth speaks its own language, and you know it well. You lift it over your head, letting the fabric fall evenly on both sides. It brushes your ankles, whispering against your skin. You smooth the lines with your hands, making sure the pleats are neat and the folds symmetrical. Then you reach for the two small bronze pins fibulae which will hold the chiton in place at your shoulders. They are shaped like tiny birds, wings outstretched, their surface dulled by time but still firm. You fasten one at each shoulder, feeling the slight weight settle like a promise. The garment is now secure, flowing freely from your shoulders like water over stone. Beneath, the air moves easily against your legs. It is a dress not meant to restrict, but to accompany. It breathes with you. Next, you tie a woven belt around your waist around, then knotted loosely in the front. The belt is deep blue, a gift from your aunt last spring, dyed with crushed berries and patience. You cinch the linen just enough to create soft pleats at your waist. Not tight. Never tight. Just enough to shape the cloth to your form, to remind it of your rhythm. The final touch is a light shawl, a thin piece of wool, dyed the color of olive leaves, worn draped over one shoulder and pinned again at your chest. It serves no purpose but grace, and sometimes that is purpose enough. You move slowly, checking how the linen settles with each breath, each step. There is no mirror, only the memory of movement. You turn slightly toward the light and feel the sun warm the cloth across your collarbone. You imagine how others will see you later, not as decorated, but as composed. Every choice you've made, each layer, each gesture is one of respect. For the day. For yourself. For the tradition. You are not trying to stand out. You are trying to belong to the moment, to the lineage, to the quiet procession of women who have dressed like this before their own festivals, long before you were born. You bend slightly and adjust the hem so that it won't catch the dust of the courtyard. Then you walk to the edge of the room and pause. The linen sways gently with your step, catching the light, whispering with each movement. You are dressed. Not like a statue or a bride, but like a woman who remembers the old ways and walks among them softly. In another house, another woman ties her sash with the same knot. In yet another, a grandmother pins her granddaughter's shoulder clasp, whispering an old song. Across the town, linen moves like waves, each woman a current in a sea of quiet beauty. And you are one of them, ready, composed, and adorned not by makeup, but by memory. Beside the doorway where the light is strongest, you keep a small wooden box, it slid smooth from years of fingers resting there without thought. Inside are your ornaments, not many. Not gold, but meaningful. You open it slowly, letting the scent of old wood and lavender rise to greet you like a quiet breath from the past. There, resting on a soft cloth, is the first, a necklace of simple clay beads, hand-formed and sun-baked, each one slightly different in size and hue. They are not painted. They bear no polish. But the clay holds warmth, and each bead carries the fingerprint of the woman who made it, your mother's friend, long past. She once told you clay remembers touch better than anything else. You believe her. You lift the necklace and hold it up to the light. The string creaks softly as the beads shift. You loop it once around your neck, letting it sit just above your collarbone. It doesn't glint or catch the eye. It rests, settles, as if it has always belonged there. Next to it lies a small bronze bangle, thin and imperfect, shaped by hand and slightly uneven. It bears a single inscription on the inside, a leaf, scratched lightly with a pin. It isn't a mark of wealth. It's a symbol, a story. You slide it over your wrist. It is cool at first, then warm within seconds. The bronze adjusts to you, as if remembering your pulse. You choose one more piece, a hairpin carved from olive wood, its end shaped into a spiral. You use it not to hold your braid in place, but to tuck back a small curl that always escapes near your temple. It doesn't need to be secured tightly, just guided, gently reminded where to rest. These are not decorations in the modern sense. They do not seek attention. They are heirlooms of quietness, stories worn in plain sight. You don't think of them as jewelry. You think of them as company, silent witnesses to your daily life, festival or not. You remember once, as a child, asking your grandmother why she never wore anything shiny like the rich women at the agora. She smiled and said, because the things that shine most aren't always meant to be worn. Sometimes they're meant to be remembered. At the time, you didn't understand. Now, you do. You close the box carefully, letting your fingertips linger on the lid. It will wait there until next time. You rise slowly, testing the weight of your necklace as you move. It does not swing or clatter. It hugs you, like a word whispered and kept. Outside the window, the day has opened fully. The sun is no longer cautious. It beams confidently across the rooftops. You hear the chatter of distant voices, neighbors, children, a cart's wheel, turning on cobblestones. The world is preparing, just as you are. But inside, here in your quiet space, the final pieces of preparation have fallen into place. You are not radiant because of bronze or beads. You are radiant because of calm, because of rhythm, because of all the small choices that said, I am worth care. You step back from the light and breathe in deeply. The scent of olive oil, of herbs, of clay, of something sweet and warm. You are ready to step outside, not transformed, not disguised, but fully yourself. And perhaps later today, someone will pass by and wonder, what is it that makes her beautiful? And they won't be able to name it. Because it will not be a thing they can see. It will be something they feel. The morning has ripened now, and light spills freely through the open archways. The warmth against your skin is no longer suggestion, it is presence. The house breathes quietly behind you, its stone walls holding shade, its corners lined with stillness. You move toward the small side room where your mother once kept her sewing, though little stitching is done here. It is a room for preparing not garments, but presents. In one corner, laid neatly across a folded cloth, are the accessories you chose yesterday. A long ribbon of wool dyed pale saffron, a strip of white linen, and a narrow sash woven with olive and brown thread. These are not extravagant. They are not even strictly necessary. But they are gestures, little nods toward grace, toward intention, toward celebration. You lift the saffron ribbon and wrap it gently around your braid, beginning just beneath the clasp that holds your hair together. You loop it downward in a slow spiral, allowing the color to peek through between strands like morning sunlight threading through tree branches. At the end, you tie it loosely and tuck the knot inward, invisible unless someone is very close. Next, you take the linen strip and drape it over your left shoulder, pinning it just above the collarbone, with a small clasp carved in the shape of a tiny fish. It's a childhood token, once given to you by your brother, who found it at the harbor and insisted it looked lucky. It is not fine, but it is yours. That makes it finer than gold. Finally, you take the narrow sash woven by your grandmother's hands when her fingers were still nimbly tight around your waist, not to tighten your form, but to complete the composition. The ends fall softly at your side, brushing your hip. You run your fingers over the familiar weave, one olive strand frayed slightly, the brown threads still strong. These details may seem small, but they are not. They are how you mark the difference between today and yesterday, between ordinary and meaningful, between showing up and arriving. You step toward the large doorway that opens to the street. The threshold is shaded, the sunlight just reaching the edge. You pause there, feeling the shift in air between inside and out. Your garments breathe around you. Scent of crushed herbs still lingers at your wrists. You smooth the sides of your chiton once more, not because they need fixing, but because the act is calming. Before you leave the quiet of the house, you turn back once. Your eyes drift over the room. The empty bowl where you mixed your blush. The folded towel where you dried your hands. The low stool where you sat to braid your hair. None of these things will leave with you. But they remain with you. You take a step forward, across the threshold, and feel the warmth of the sun on your face for the first time today. It feels like a welcome, like a soft invitation. The breeze carries the scent of baked bread from a neighbor's hearth. The chatter of distant voices rises and falls like a tide. You walk slowly, calmly, as if every movement were part of something sacred. There are no polished shoes, no glittering earrings, no painted lips, and yet the stillness around you seems to pause as you pass, not out of awe, not out of admiration, but out of recognition, of grace carried quietly. The women who see you nod gently. The elders offer a brief smile. The child tugs at her mother's hand, eyes lingering on your ribbon. You do not need to speak. You do not need to be introduced. Your presence speaks first. This is how beauty moves, not loudly, not with urgency, but like a quiet breeze through fig leaves, like sunlight warming old stone, like the hush before music begins. And you, wrapped in linen and memory and care, are part of that music. The town's festival day does not begin with trumpets or drums. It begins with the rustle of fabric, the murmur of greetings, the echo of footsteps on stone streets worn smooth by generations. You walk among them, now your sisters, your cousins, your neighbors, each wrapped in linen, each prepared in her own quiet way. Your braid, adorned with saffron ribbon, swings gently between your shoulder blades. It doesn't demand attention, but it catches the light. Like a flame, flickering behind glass. Beside you walks your aunt, older, slower, her shawl pulled close around her shoulders. She does not speak, but she walks with intention. You remember when she was younger, how she once carried a basket of figs to this very same festival, how she laughed at the shade of red her hands turned from the juice. She wears no makeup today, yet her cheeks glow with something deep memory, perhaps, or pride. Ahead, a group of girls walks in a small cluster. One wears flowers tucked into her sash. Another has painted her toenails with crushed pomegranate. They laugh softly, their shoulders brushing as they walk. They are young, full of stories, not yet told, and they walk like petals on water scattered and floating. You do not walk as they do. You walk like the stem. Upright. Steady. Familiar with the rhythm beneath your feet. Every step is mindful. Not rehearsed, but known. You've walked this path before. Not this exact one. Not with the same people or the same sky, but the rhythm is eternal. You pass a man selling ribbons from a wooden tray strung around his neck. The colors flutter in the breeze, crimson, indigo, emerald. The child behind him points at your belt and whispers something to his mother. She smiles gently, but says nothing. Some things do not need to be explained. The path narrows as you approach the temple square. The sunlight is dappled here, filtered through the branches of a sprawling olive tree that leans over the archway. The shadow it casts is delicate, and your sandals make soft scritch-scratch sounds as they brush through its speckled light. You reach up to adjust your shawl, pinching it slightly at the collar to keep it in place. Your fingers graze the bronze clasp shaped like a fish, and you think again of your brother. He is gone, now sailing, perhaps, or married and far. But today, in this small detail, he walks with you. Around you, the women begin to slow. The pace softens as the temple comes into full view. Conversation fades to murmurs. The stone steps leading up are bright with sunlight, and even though you've seen them many times, they still give you pause. They rise like a song, one note at a time, steady, clear, unwavering. You take the first step, then the next. The hem of your chiton brushes the edge of each stone, and the scent of myrtle and incense grows stronger with every movement. A breeze catches the end of your sash, and you let it flutter freely. You are not worried. You are already whole. At the top, you glance sideways. A girl your age catches your eye. Her hair is pinned with a single white flower, her fingers curled around a clay bowl. She doesn't smile, but she sees you, and that is enough. You turn your eyes forward again, toward the great doors of the temple, not because they are sacred, though they are, but because you are ready. You walk not as one trying to be seen, but as one who already knows who she is. At the top of the temple steps, a hush settles around you. Not imposed silence, but the natural quiet that arises when people understand something important is about to begin. The heavy wooden doors stand open, flanked by two braziers whose thin trails of smoke drift upward into the bright sky. They carry the scent of laurel, of thyme, and something faintly metallic perhaps from the old bronze censers hung inside. You do not step through just yet. Instead, you join the others at a stone basin carved in the shape of a shallow leaf. It holds water not cold, not warm, but still. A woman ahead of you dips her hands in, touches her fingers to her brow, her lips, then her chest. She does not speak. She does not look around. She simply cleanses herself before entering. When it is your turn, you kneel slightly, as your mother once taught you. You cup your hands and let the water rest there for a moment before lifting it gently to your face. It smells faintly of clay and crushed herbs. You press your wet fingers along your cheeks and let them linger just below your eyes. You breathe deeply. It isn't about washing away dirt. It's about softening something invisible. About entering not with the dust of the world, but with your quietest self. You dry your hands on the corner of your shawl, then step forward into the cool interior of the temple. It's darker inside. Your eyes take a moment to adjust. The light that pours through the open door stretches long and golden along the floor, illuminating motes of dust that drift like dancers in slow motion. The stone walls rise high, curving toward the domed ceiling where painted birds circle above painted trees. Everything feels distant and close at the same time. You join a line of women waiting to offer their gifts. No one pushes. No one speaks above a whisper. Each woman carries something different: flowers, a bit of bread, a folded piece of cloth, a pinch of dried herbs. You have brought a small bundle wrapped in linen, a few grains of barley, a lock of hair from your sister's first haircut, and a ribbon your mother once wore to her own festival. They are not offerings of wealth. They are offerings of meaning, and the gods, if they are watching, understand. When your turn comes, you kneel once more and place your bundle on the offering table, already adorned with small, quiet treasures from others. You do not pray with words. You close your eyes and offer breath, stillness, and a single thought: thank you for another season, another gathering, another day to walk in light. You rise slowly. No one rushes you. Behind you, another woman steps forward. The child clings to her shawl, eyes wide. You remember when you were that child. When this place felt enormous and sacred and mysterious. It still does. But now you understand that the holiness isn't only in the temple. It's in every step that brought you here. In every hand that smoothed linen. In every touch of oil on skin. As you step aside, you notice the woman who stood before you is now seated along the edge of the room, eyes closed, palms upturned. She's smiling faintly, as if remembering something. Or perhaps simply existing in a rare moment of peace. You sit beside her, a respectful space between you. You mirror her posture, hands open, breath steady. No one needs to see you here. No one will ask what you offered or how you prepared. But you will remember. Because it was never about the festival alone. It was about the journey. The quiet rituals. The brush of ribbon. The scent of oil. The echo of your footsteps on stone. The softness of your own presence. And here, inside the stone temple, surrounded by other women who came in their own quiet grace, you feel it all gather, not loudly, not brightly, but like water in a still bowl, full without overflow. You are not dressed up. You are ready. Outside the temple, the square is beginning to bloom with sound. Not noise, never that, but the gentle layering of footsteps, greetings, and the rustling of linen skirts moving across the courtyard stones. Women gather in, small clusters beneath olive trees, their shadows long now as the sun climbs higher. Children dart between their mothers, weaving play into the solemnity. You walk slowly through the square, not in a procession, but in a kind of informal choreography. Each woman moves as though she knows her place, not assigned, but inherited. A rhythm passed down in gesture, not instruction. You pass others who prepared in different ways, some with flowers tucked behind their ears, others with painted hands or sashes stitched with coloured thread. No one is adorned the same way. But every face carries the same glow, a quiet dignity born from care. A younger woman stops to adjust her belt. Her fingers fumble slightly. You pause beside her and, without words, gently help her retie the knot, securing it with a soft twist and tug. She thanks you with a smile, grateful, not embarrassed. In this space, appearance is not about perfection. It is about presence. As the crowd settles, a low-toned bell rings from the temple's highest wall. It echoes once, twice, calling not to attention, but to awareness. The sound lingers in the air like a thread drawn through cloth. You find a place to sit, folding yourself onto a low stone bench beneath a flowering myrtle bush. Others join, forming a half-circle facing the temple steps, where elder women begin to take their places. There is no stage, no podium, no raised platform. Just a worn space on the steps where generations have stood before. One by one, the elder women begin to speak, not speeches, not sermons, but memories. They tell short tales of festivals past, of the way their mothers used to bake barley bread wrapped in fig leaves, of a time when the well went dry and they carried water 2 villages over just to bathe. The stories aren't rehearsed. They drift like smoke from a slow fire, curling into the open air. You find yourself smiling at one tale, blinking back a sting of tears at another. The woman beside you nods, softly, as though each word reminds her of someone long gone. You are not only listening. You are gathering fragments of lives lived with care and quiet resilience. There is no applause. Only deep breaths and the sound of birdsong threading between the pauses. Then comes the moment you've waited for, the blessing. Not from a priest, not from an idol, but from the oldest woman in the village, whose face is lined like a field that has been well ploughed. She rises, leaning on a staff, her shawl sliding from one shoulder. She does not lift her voice. She simply looks at all of you and says, "You have come with clean hands. May your days be light." That is all. And yet, it feels like the kindest gift anyone has offered you in years. You lower your head, placing one hand over the other in your lap. You let the blessing land gently, like a feather finding its resting place. In this moment, you realize something. This entire morning's washing, the braiding, the choosing of ornaments, the quiet walk to the temple was never about beauty in the way the world now defines it. It was about readiness, about entering a sacred space not to impress, but to honor. And that readiness is something you carry within you. Long after the braid is untied or the oil has faded from your wrists, you sit a little straighter. Not because anyone is watching, but because you see yourself more clearly now, without a mirror, without comparison, just as you are. After the blessing, the air doesn't fill with chatter. It thickens with stillness, rich and peaceful, like the silence that follows a soft rain. Women remain seated or standing in clusters, heads bowed slightly, some with eyes closed, others gently adjusting their shawls. It is not the end of the festival, but the pause between reverence and return. You remain on your bench, hands still folded in your lap. A myrtle petal, caught on a breeze, lands softly near your sandal. You lean forward, pick it up with 2 fingers, and hold it to your nose. The scent is faint, but clean. It reminds you of your sister's hair when she was small, of your mother's hands after grinding herbs, of something both ordinary and holy. Beside you, an older woman, perhaps 10 or 15 years your senior, begins to speak, not to the crowd, but to you. She doesn't ask your name. She doesn't introduce herself. She simply says, "My mother used to whisper a prayer into her hair before braiding it on festival days. said it helped her remember who she was. You nod slowly. You don't need to reply. You both understand. There is a language between women that doesn't rely on answers. She removes a small folded cloth from her sash and opens it to reveal a single baked fig wrapped in a bay leaf. The you, she offers, to keep the sweetness with you a little longer. You accept it with both hands and say thank you, not loudly, but with warmth. You place it gently in your pouch, knowing you won't eat it right away. Not because you're saving it for later, but because later already lives inside this gesture. As the square begins to stir again, women start to gather in twos and threes, heading back down the streets toward home. Some carry baskets. Others hold the hands of little girls dressed in miniature chitons. The mood is still hushed, but there is a lightness now, a sense of calm that settles on the shoulders like a shawl. You rise from your seat, adjusting your belt slightly. A small breeze tugs at your braid ribbon, and you let it move. You walk slowly, deliberately, through the square past the olive tree where a few young girls are sitting in a circle, threading flowers into each other's hair. One of them glances up at you, eyes bright. She whispers something to her friend, and they both look your way, not in awe, not with envy, but with admiration laced in curiosity. You do not smile, but you give them a small nod. The kind your mother once gave a younger you, standing in the same square, wearing a borrowed shawl too large for your shoulders. There are no photographs to capture you, no mirrors to confirm your image. But somehow, you know you will be remembered. Not for the exact curve of your braid or the shade of the linen on your shoulder, but for how you made others feel in your presence, for how you carried yourself, for how you listened, for how you honored the quiet parts of the day. As you pass a group of older women gathered near a fountain, one reaches out and touches your wrist gently. Her fingers graze the bronze bangle you put on that morning. This used to belong to someone, she says. Not as a question, as a knowing. You nod once. It still does. She smiles. You walk on. The temple fades behind you. But the stillness, the sweetness, the slowness, it lingers. It clings to your skin like the faint scent of rose oil. It lives in your chest like a quiet hum. And as you make your way home, you carry no gift bags, no garlands, no tokens. Only a memory of being fully yourself, fully seen without mirrors, without makeup, without needing to prove anything to anyone. The walk home is quieter than your walk to the temple, though the streets are still alive with movement. The air is warmer now, fragrant with the scent of sun-heated stone, crushed thyme beneath sandals and the rising aroma of bread baking in clay ovens. You pass homes where windows stand open and linen curtains billow softly in the breeze. The town exhales. You're not in a rush. No one is. Festival days bend time slightly. They loosen the tightness of hours and stretch the space between moments. You let your steps slow. The hem of your chiton brushes your ankles, and your sash sways gently with each motion. You walk not as someone returning from an event, but as someone carrying something sacred back into the ordinary. As you approach the well near the edge of the square, you pause. There's a shaded bench nearby, worn smooth by years of rest. You sit, not from fatigue, but to savor the stillness. The bronze bangle on your wrist catches a glint of light, and you roll it thoughtfully between your fingers. Across from you, a little girl plays with pebbles, lining them up into tiny rows. She hums to herself, then looks up. You smell nice, she says matter-of-factly. You smile. Thank you. It's just rose and laurel. She nods as if that explains everything, and returns to her pebbles. You watch her a moment longer, thinking how someday she too will walk these streets, preparing for her own festivals, tying her sash, combing her hair slowly. Perhaps someone will offer her a baked fig. Perhaps she will wear a ribbon that once belonged to someone else. You rise from the bench and continue walking. At the corner, a neighbor waves. She stands at her doorway, a broom in one hand, the other holding the curtain aside. You look peaceful, she calls. I am, you answer, and realize it's true. Not the kind of peace that comes from rest or silence alone, but the kind that settles deep after doing something with care from start to finish. from bathing to braiding to blessing. The front gate of your home is half open. You push it gently and step inside, the familiar creak of the hinge greeting you like an old friend. The interior is cool and quiet. The scent of oil and herbs still lingers in the air, not strong now, just the echo of earlier preparations. You remove your sandals and walk barefoot across the tile. Your fingers reach up to untie the ribbon in your braid, but you pause. Not yet. Let it remain a little longer. In the center of the room, a low table waits with a cloth draped over it. You place the fig wrapped in bay leaf at its center, a small offering to the quiet of the afternoon. To yourself. To the day. You pour a cup of water and sip slowly, letting each drop remind you of where you've been, how you began with a splash of cool water and now return full of warmth. As you sit near the window, light playing across your lap, you realize the house feels different. Not because anything has changed, but because you have brought something home with you. Something invisible. Something lasting. You feel it in the way you move. In the steadiness of your breath. In the quiet strength of your hands. Not a transformation. Not a performance. But a remembering of how beautiful it is to prepare with love. To walk with grace. To be seen without ever needing to look. The afternoon light softens as it begins its slow descent across the sky. It enters your home not in bold shafts, but in gentle veils slipping through the slats of the shutters, kissing the tops of baskets, the folds of draped cloth, the rim of the water jar. Everything it touches glows a little, as if blessed by the day you've lived. You sit quietly by the open window, still in your festival clothing, your braid untouched, your shawl resting lightly over one shoulder. You have no need to undress yet. This, too, is part of the day. The after. The keeping of calm after the gathering. The slow retreat of the sacred into the ordinary. You look down at your hands resting in your lap, fingers lightly folded, bronze bangles still cool against your skin. There is a stillness in you that feels earned, like a soft reward given not by others, but by yourself. You remember the way the temple doors felt beneath your hand, the texture of the sash you tied, the scent of crushed myrtle still faintly rising from your wrist. And now, here, alone again in the quiet of home, you realize none of it has left you. There is no audience, no admiring glance, no chorus of compliments. But you do not feel unseen. You feel present. Fully, deeply, quietly. Outside, the world continues on. You hear the clatter of a wooden spoon against a clay pot from a neighboring home. A mother calls for her son to come in from the sun. Farther away, a cart rolls slowly up the stone road, the wheels clicking steadily. You let it all wash over you like a lullaby. Then, without rush, you rise. At the small corner basin, you dampen a cloth and press it gently to your cheeks. The faint tint of red ochre comes away onto the fabric, not fully, not quickly, but in the same way it was applied, gradually, with care. You wipe away the balm from your lips next, patting rather than rubbing. The cloth absorbs the color quietly, almost shyly. Your face now feels cool and clear, not bare, not stripped, but returned. You untie the saffron ribbon from your braid and lay it beside the basin. Your fingers ease apart the plait, letting the strands fall into waves, still warm from the sun. You do not comb it yet. You simply let it be. You remove your shawl and fold it neatly, placing it on the same stool where you sat earlier that morning. The necklace, too, is removed and placed gently back into its small wooden box. Each item is returned with reverence, as if putting away not just ornaments, but memories. You step into your resting space and sit near the oil lamp, not yet lit. You close your eyes. What you feel now isn't exhaustion. Completion. You remember the old phrase your grandmother once whispered on her own festival nights: beauty is how you stay with yourself, even after the mirror fades. You smile. Because now you understand it. You didn't need a mirror. You didn't need paint. You didn't need applause. You needed only the willingness to approach each step with care. To choose quiet over noise. To move slowly when the world urged you to rush. To tend to yourself not out of vanity, but out of love. And now, here, with the day gently closing, You remain luminous, not in appearance, but in presence. Evening settles like a shawl draped across your shoulders, weightless, soft, familiar. The light outside dims into that delicate space between day and night, when shadows lengthen, but the world hasn't quite surrendered to darkness. Your home, now hushed and golden, feels like a held breath. You rise from your resting place and move through the house slowly, as if your body still remembers the quiet rhythm of this festival morning. Each footstep sounds different, now more rounded, more resonant. The tiles beneath your feet seem cooler. The air, calmer. In the corner, the small clay lamp waits. You light it with a matchstick from the hearth, and it flickers to life, a single flame in the growing dim. Its glow doesn't fill the room. It simply anchors it. You sit near it and lean forward slightly, allowing your face to warm in the gentle radiance. The light touches your cheekbones, your collarbone, your hands. There's no rush to move, no reason to shift. You are exactly where you need to be. You reach for a soft cloth and begin to undo the last pieces of the day. The belt unknots easily, and you fold it with care, laying it beside you like the closing line of a poem. The fibula at your shoulders release with a gentle click, no struggle, no tug, only surrender. You slip the chiton over your head, fold it neatly, and place it with the rest. Now dressed in a thin sleeping tunic, you sit again near the lamp, cradling your warm cup of water. There is no ritual left to complete, but your mind drifts gently back over the day's moments, the way fingers brush across a beloved page before closing a book. You remember the moment your hands dipped into the basin, the silence in the temple after the blessing, the scent of the crushed herbs as you walked through the square. You remember the girl who said you smelled nice, and the woman who gave you the fig, and the way your cousin's eyes lit up when you helped her retie her sash. None of these were dramatic moments, but each one added to the fullness you now feel, like beads strung on a ribbon, not to be displayed, but to be worn close to the heart. You finish your water, set down the cup, and extinguish the lamp. Darkness rises slowly, but it isn't unwelcome. It's velvet and kind, wrapping around your shoulders as you lie down on your mat. The cloth is cool against your skin, and the room smells faintly of linen, oil, and the last traces of mineral. You pull the light blanket over your body and exhale. The breath is long, smooth, complete. You do not think about tomorrow. Not yet. There is nothing you need to plan. Nothing you forgot. Nothing you regret. Your body, clean and soft. Your heart, full but quiet. Your spirit, settled. You close your eyes, and in that stillness, you carry something forward, not a ribbon, or a bracelet, or a braid, but a memory of how it felt to be slow, and thoughtful, and beautifully, completely you. And though no one else may speak of it, though the world will return to its usual speed by morning, you know, you will rise tomorrow not wearing a festival dress, but still wearing grace.